Welcome to the Bullish Drive Podcast, where we explore the realms of faith, mental performance, and personal testimonies through conversations with high-level performers. Join us as we extract valuable insights from their experiences to supercharge your pursuit of peak performance. This is the Bullish Drive Podcast. What's up, guys? It's James, your mental performance coach, and welcome back to the Bullish Drive Podcast. And if you're new here, first off, thank you for checking out the podcast. Here we interview high-level performers, professional athletes, trainers, musicians, and everybody in between. And we talk about what does it take to reach those levels. What are their testimonies? What are the mindsets? And if you like this type of content, please subscribe and like so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And of course, check out all the old episodes too that we have posted here. What is one of the biggest questions I get when it comes to mindset, especially with working with teams? We talk about culture. What is the culture of a champion? And there was this great interview with Mike Tyson, and I reference this all the time, but I just love his response. The common assumption about champions is that they're one of a kind, unique, they stand out, nobody can reach them. And even as adults, we can see it this way with labels like the GOAT, with titles like the GOAT, or, one of a kind, or a prodigy, or all these different titles can be placed on these high-level performers that seem to stand out from the rest of the competition. Well, not necessarily a bad thing. It's the mindset that separates them. And Mike Tyson goes on to say, it's not that people can't reach my level. It's just that I understand that every day I'm not the same person I was yesterday, that every day I'm working harder. Kobe Bryant, the late great, even identified this. He knew that in order for him to overcome some of the greatest athletes in the world, he had to do something different. And his mindset was, if he woke up earlier than everybody else every day and got straight to the gym, over time, you would have more gym time, so much that his competitors couldn't catch up to him. And really, that is a mindset. That's a choice. Dr. Eric Thomas once said, some of us are giving only 60% when we actually have 120% to give. And I believe the thing that freezes us in that spot is fear of failure and humiliation. But when you start to move outside of your comfort zone, those two things are probably going to happen. You're probably going to feel embarrassed because maybe you screwed up or dropped the ball. Maybe you're going to experience failure. Actually, not maybe, you will. You'll experience failure. And today we talk about the championship culture. What does that look like? And I love what our guest today says. He says, honor isn't in the selection. And he's speaking about being selected for a professional team. But honor is fulfilling the expectation of why you got selected. And if anybody can speak to this, it's our guest today, a former Olympian, Rugby sevens, and then played in the National Rugby League himself. He is one of the heaviest hitters in sevens, arguably the heaviest hitters, where he has gained multiple titles, multiple names that has to do with him simply running people over. And as we talk to him today, we dive into just the culture he grew up in as the youngest of three brothers who were bigger than him, also athletic, also competitive, as well as moving into the competitive professional world, reaching that dream. What were some of the pitfalls that he saw others go through? What are some of the things he had to manage to overcome? And most importantly, what is the expectation? What is the expectation of a champion? And how do you continue to grow that? So I'm incredibly excited, super stoked, and very honored to invite Danny Barrett onto the Bullish Drive Podcast. Danny, welcome to the show. So let's get started with just a little bit about your background, what you do. I did say USA Rugby, but I'll let you kind of explain your journey a little bit.
Yeah, so I grew up in Pacifica, California, just outside San Francisco. The youngest of three boys. All of us played rugby, University of California, Berkeley. I graduated from there 2013, moved down to San Diego on a residency contract with USA Sevens. And then, I was lucky enough to be a part of the Sevens program for about 8 years. I was pretty lucky in 2 Olympics, World Cup on home soil. I played 15s as well with a World Cup overseas in England 2015. And then the last 2 years I played down in Houston, Texas for the Houston SaberCats in the MLR. And now, my wife and I bought a house up in Washington State, and and just enjoying the grind, the everyday grind of working from home.
That's right. Working from home, man. Isn't that the dream right there? Just working from home.
It's good and bad, man, because, moving to a new area and I don't really know all that many people. So
yeah,
it's not like I have any water cooler talks with the coworkers. My dog comes down every once in a while. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And dogs are great. They're man's best friend. So
exactly.
I have mine. Mine's my coworker too, so we're all just chilling with their dogs. It's all good. So, let's talk about, you mentioned your brothers. And I love it because all your brothers are pretty competitive. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And did you guys grow up in a rugby family or are there other sports there?
I think we became a rugby family.
Okay.
Being the youngest, I kind of followed in the footsteps of everything they did, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, a little bit of everything here and there. We were lucky enough to all play together at Cal in the 2009 season. I was a freshman, Neil was a junior, Jim was a fifth-year senior. So there's a bit of competition there. And the best part about it is when you're on the same team.
Yeah.
You grow up your whole life, essentially, you're on the same team being part of a family. But when it's all boys or, it's all the same gender, there is a competition there of, who's going to do the most, who's going to get the last pork chop at dinner kind of thing. And so, yeah, playing with each other was pretty awesome because we finally got to have that feeling of, I don't need to think about what my brother's going to do. Yeah. I know if I give it to him, he's going to do something special and I'll be right there for it. So the competition, as much as the shared competition for a greater goal is, that was priceless.
Yeah, that's so good. And now are all your brothers your size? Like you're a pretty big dude. So
my oldest brother's, he's about my height. He's a bit heavier than I am. And then, so Jim's 4 years older than me. Neil's 2 years older. He's, I'm about 6'2". Neil's 5'11", about my weight. And then Jim's 6'3" or so.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger than me. So
yeah, so good competition. I'm sure the backyard football games were awesome to witness for that. So let's talk about that environment then. So, because people talk about competition, healthy competition with relatives, toxic competition with brothers and stuff. What kind of competition did you guys have, and how did that set you up to have a mindset to just keep going, keep competing, and bring you to the Olympics?
Yeah, I think being the youngest, you kind of you get picked on, right? You're the youngest. You got two older brothers. But it's one of those things where, they're going to pick on me, but at the end of the day, they have my back. And, that's pretty much any team environment. Any men's team environment is you're always making jabs. You're always kind of making fun of each other. But at the end of the day, that guy's got your back and I've got his. And, kind of growing up in that, being the youngest with my brothers is, one, it's thick skin. You got to be tough. You got to be able to take some verbal abuse every once in a while from each other in good nature, right? But as well, you have to be physically tough. I was getting beat up on the regular. That's what we did, is we wrestled. We wrestled, we scratched, we fought. We did all that kind of stuff. And, playing sports with and against each other, you have your own built-in competition group where you can go outside and play basketball and you have that every single day. So, I think that was a big piece of it. And, being the youngest, you always kind of grow up the smallest. Yeah. They're 2 and 4 years older than me. They're bigger than I am.
Sure.
So, going into sevens, I'm now the big guy. and I get to kind of impose my will on the opponents. And, it's the same thing as growing up with brothers. You got guys from different countries you're playing against and whatnot. And, hey, they're putting a competition on for you, and I'm going to bring it just as much as they are. But after the game, it's like, hey, man, that was good.
Right.
Like good carry, good tackle, all this kind of stuff. And so that's the really cool part is I never left a brotherhood. I gained more. And there's guys that I didn't play with that long, but I connected with off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'd go to bat for him. I'd take a bullet for that guy. He's part of my family now for
Yeah.
the long haul. So, I think that's one of the really cool things about having brothers growing up is, you can always gain more, and you can diversify that family that you get through competitive team sport.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. That's so good. And, something, a theme with just rugby, because, we've had Carlin Isles on the show. We've had KJ and Nia Tapper on the show too. And like, it just seems like rugby is just that different kind of sport when it comes to camaraderie and the social side of it. And the socials afterward, just being able to talk to people about that. Do you see that in other sports besides rugby, or is rugby pretty unique in that sense?
I think it's pretty unique, and I think even more so for sevens. 15s, you're typically in different hotels. NBA, one team's the home team, one team's the away team, so they're not really crossing paths all that much. The opposition. When you're in a hotel on a sevens tour, there's 15 other countries there. There's 15 other teams there that you're eating in the same dining room. You're taking the same elevators. Before and after competition. On game day, you're eating in the same mess hall. You're using the same bathrooms. All this kind of stuff. Sharing changing rooms. Like, you're gonna be next to each other all the time.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to get used to dealing with different cultures. Kids from Samoa, Tonga, New Zealand, England, France, people that don't speak the same language as you, and understanding how they work, but also we're about to go out there and beat the crap out of each other. Right. And we're not going to back down. But after the game, there is that level of respect where not just for the opposition, but with the referee and the crowd, the fans, we wouldn't have what we do have without each other.
Yeah.
And us putting this game on, USA, New Zealand, people are coming out to watch that and to be a part of it and to show that. And if they didn't agree and the New Zealand didn't agree and we didn't agree to hold that game, those people wouldn't be able to experience it either. So I think that's something that, is kind of in the heart of the game that rugby players and the sport realizes around the world. It's not very often after a World Cup final or an Olympic final where the opposition are shaking hands and thanking each other and thanking the referee and being respectful to them. And because you wouldn't have it without each other.
Yeah.
We all need the game to thrive. So let's do it together. And, you can be as mean as you want on the field, but after the game, it's a head nod and a handshake and, hey, good luck in the rest of the way kind of thing.
Yeah. There's that shared respect just for rugby as like a persona in and of itself. When I played rugby, something that was big that I had to learn is calling the referee sir. Right? Like calling him sir. Now there's just another level of respect, like when you call the official sir. Like I've never seen that in any other sport, and that respect just falls over everybody in there. I think it was Michael Jordan that once said, like, I don't care if I'm sick or hurt or, tired or upset. There could be somebody in that stadium that just paid their whole month's worth to come see me perform. And so I owe it to them. And that just sounds very familiar with what you said right there with rugby and people coming together to grow the sport.
Yeah, very much so. I think we need each other. And I think understanding that is a good value for, not just rugby athletes, but for the greater society. Hey, we need each other to be able to survive and to thrive. Without those games and that competition, how am I going to make money? How am I going to be able to support my family? How am I going to do this? If I don't have someone that buys my product, I'm not going to be successful. So someone comes in and buys your product, you thank them and, hey, come back again. Let's do it again. And that repeat competition. So, that's the really cool thing with the game is there's so many avenues for societal growth where, so much respect, integrity, honor, discipline, all those kind of catchphrase words.
Right.
I mean, you have to have that at all levels of the game. I remember referees telling me, you need to speak to me nicely. And hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it's okay. I get it. I understand. He's like, I gave you the penalty. You need to be nice. Yeah. And it's, it's like your mom or your dad saying, hey, don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't speak to me like that. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're all people.
Yeah. Yep.
Treat everyone with respect and you'll get it back.
Yeah, that's totally it. And how hard was it to just keep that mindset when you're trying to get, World Cup champion, when you're competing for these big accolades and stuff like that? How hard is it to keep that mindset? Does it help to have teammates that are in the same mindset as you, or do you have to talk yourself through those?
No, I think you have to have both. In a team sport, you have to have the guys that are very calm and collected, and you have to have the hotheads. And I was probably on the hotter side.
Yeah.
Where, at the end of the day, for me, I didn't care about anyone that I played with or against until I had to. Once that whistle blows, there's guys on the team that, hey, I got your back no matter what. Training, game time, competition, all that stuff. But you're not going to be the guy that I invite to my wedding, or the guy that I call to get a beer on the weekend, hang out and watch the game kind of thing. But I got you.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, I'm here for you. And if it gets physical and there's fisticuffs going in, I'll be the first one there, whether I like you or not. I've always said, I have enough friends. I'm here to win football games, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So if you're going to help me do that, hands down, I have your back.
Yeah.
But maybe don't expect a call from me on the weekend, kind of thing. And I think you have the people that can kind of withstand that and accept it, and then you have the people that can't. And how can we work together to put this puzzle piece together to get to our final goal of that painting, that Olympic medal, that World Cup medal. And not all puzzle pieces fit together. Some teams can work that way and some teams can't.
Yeah.
We had a very good group of players that, not only did we grow up in the game together, but we grew up as human beings together. When I first joined the team, there was 2 players on the team that had a girlfriend or were married. When I left, probably 95% of the team did.
Yeah.
So that shows that we grew up as humans, and a big portion of our lives were together, every single day. You go home from training and you got 3 roommates that are all on your team. So you're growing with each other all the time, but it doesn't mean you like each other all the time either. It's very much, my college coach would say, it's a highly conditional environment. The love you get from your family is very unconditional. You're born into it. They love you no matter what. Things go wrong, hey, we're still here for you. We love you. Rugby, you have to, take that conscious effort to say, hey, I respect you. I love you, man. I got you at all times. And if you don't, okay, there's a bit of a problem there. How do we fix that? How do we mend that relationship? Because, that guy's getting pulled in from the East Coast. I'm a West Coast guy. There's already that, which one's better, and it's the West Coast. But you're going to have those little battles, and you don't want that to turn into something bigger than it is. Those personality conflicts. So, learning to work with each other and people of different backgrounds, people who don't look like you or believe in the same things you believe in, and think the way that you think. That's, a huge part of being a successful team, not having anything to do with the field of play.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just having that chemistry in there. And is that a deal breaker? Can that be a deal breaker for an upcoming athlete that's coming in and just can't adjust to those types of things?
Yeah. I think everybody's got to get their own house in order. And, it's the top 6 inches. So, we had a rule. It was a no dickhead rule. So if you come in and you're bigger than the team and, you know, I'm this and that, I'm better than everybody else, we don't want you.
Yep.
Because, you know, that's a cancer in the locker room.
Yeah.
And
100%.
we don't want something that's going to ruin our culture, and something, you know, that in my time with the team that we took so long to build. And, you know, it had its good days and its bad days.
Right.
But, you know, if you can't get your own house in order and not fall into place in what we already have, but don't change it for the negative.
Yeah.
You know, come in and change it for the positive, and have a positive impact on the group. Hey, that's all we ask for, is whatever you do, you know, you keep it the same, you change it for the better, just don't change it for the worst.
Right. And another thing is, all you guys work so hard, you know, to get that culture and get that to that piece. Like, if you're coming in brand new and you're there to create more trouble and difficulty, like, no one wants to work with that. You know what I mean? That's a tough thing to work with. And just speaking about, like, backing up to where you're like, you would be the first one in to back up your teammates and being just one of the bigger guys on a sevens team. Now, was there an expectation for you to become the big man, the boom Barrett that, you know, everyone sees? Was there an expectation for you to fill those shoes?
You know, I don't know if there were shoes to fill. I think I blazed my own kind of path.
I love that.
And, you know, if you look at, you know, my career as a whole, it wasn't always that. You know, I kind of grew into that and understood what that role was and how that, you know, changed the way that our team can play and how it affected us being able to play a certain way.
Yeah.
So if I can carry the ball hard and get 2-3 tacklers on me, I know I got Maka Anufe, Martin Yusefo, Carlin Isles, Perry Baker, you know, some of the best feet, the 2 fastest guys in the world, you know, 30 extra meters of space.
Right.
So the way that I was able to affect the game that way was, you know, just as good as having a guy that can run a 10-100 meter in Carlin. So, hey, I don't care who scores as long as we score. I care that we score more than they score, and that's it. And if it's me, awesome. If it's not, hey, even better, because we just got 7 points.
Right.
So, you know, my role of, you know, carrying the rock and doing that well was, hey, I'll take that. But it was also a bit of, you know, my childhood coming out. Hey, I finally got to be the bigger one. And I finally got to do the picking on and the punishing. So it was just fun for me and trying to figure out ways to do things like that and to affect the game when I wasn't always the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like you had a ton of fun on a couple of those plays, running over some guys. And how did you separate the titles? Like, I kept saying, like, boom, because that's one of the first times I ever saw one of your big highlights, right? Was that name being dropped. So as you raise in levels, you know, you get nicknames. Rugby has nicknames. Can those nicknames be limiting? And how do you get past that to continue to blaze your own trail through these professional environments?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you need to be able to not let that affect you. I never liked the name. I still don't.
Oh, shoot.
You know,
my bad.
You're all good. You know, it's just, you know, it's just not something that I was there to do a job. You know, I was getting paid to do a job. And what I did was me doing, you know, my job. You know, I was helping my team win. So it didn't really matter to me what people said, or, you know, whether it was good or bad. You know, it's probably a lot of more bad stuff than good stuff. But it was, you know, when it comes to that kind of negative press, or, you know, that people getting into social media DMs and whatnot and calling you names, it's like, hey man, I've been called worse by better. Like, you're not going to affect me with what you say, because I know at the end of the day, it's one person and I got about 25 other guys that got my back.
Yep.
So, hey, if you want a shot at the title, take a shot at the title, you know, come say it to me. And it that kind of stuff didn't happen very often, if ever. But yeah, I think, you know, once you feed into a moniker, a name, a nickname, whatever it is, you know, to me, that's kind of when things go downhill. You know, there's other, you know, Perry his nickname is Speed Stick, and he's a skinny little speedster. So, hey, that's all good, but I'm pretty sure he gave that to himself. And it's, hey, go for it, man. You know, people have that. He's got a market to be able to sell himself and to sell that. Hey, go make money off it. Do it. But, you know, I was very much I'm a professional, so I'm here to be the best player I can be every single training session, every single game, every single minute. You know, my dad was a plumber for 30 years, and he knew that if he didn't do his best every single day, he wasn't going to show up tomorrow.
Right.
Because people are going to stop calling you. And hey, that's what I need to do. I need to be better than the kid that's going to show up who's 7-8 years younger than me and can do the same kind of thing. So I need to work that much harder. You know, not think into or believe into any of this other stuff that's being said, because there's always more people out there who want that job.
Yeah.
And I want it more.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. It's like Tyson once responded to a comment about like he's the greatest and no one can be as good as him, and he was just like, it's not that, it's just about every day I'm growing and I'm getting better, right? Like that's what world champion is. And I love how you said that, and through that you just talked about the professional side of it, right? It's still professional sport, right? And did that ever weigh upon like just your passion of competing and being a rugby player? Like, how do you manage to balance that and still perform at peak levels?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I think for me, I'd have done it for free. I would have represented my country for free. And you know, my whole life, I only ever wanted to be a professional athlete. You know, I never wanted to do anything else. Hoping that it would be in a sport where I was making more money, but you know, it wasn't. And I found my groove in rugby, and you know, the opportunity to be able to represent my country was significant to me. That means a lot, to be able to wear, you know, the stars and stripes, you know, not just on game day, but every single day at training, and to represent, you know, my country and my people. And you know, again, it's not just people that look like me or you, it's everybody. You know, our country's a cornucopia of cultures and people. And you know, our team was a very good example of that, with, you know, cultures from all over the world, not just the United States. So, you know, being able to do that and represent that, but also being able to learn and learn from those different cultures and different people and backgrounds. And, you know, not everybody came up the same way I did. You know, some didn't have, you know, a parent, or, you know, didn't have parents at all, or, you know, some people grew up on the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, the Midwest. And, you know, that's very different from where I grew up. So learning from their life experiences, you know, better people make better rugby players. And if you're more understanding of, you know, your opponent and your teammate and the referee, and understanding what they're looking for and what they want to try and do, your game plan is going to be a bit better, because you know how they work as a group, as a culture, as a pack. And you know, if you throw a pack of Labrador retrievers out there, they're all going to go do the same thing. For the US, we're not all Labrador retrievers. We're every different dog under the sun. And you know, a lot of us we're mutts, we're mixed dogs, and there's a little bit of everything in us. So being able to run with that, and you know, we kind of got to create our own game plan. And that's one of the really cool parts of being professional, is I'm not picking my teammates. We're not in the schoolyard and, hey, you get first dibs. These guys are coming in from everywhere on someone else's choice. So how do we work together? And you know, we're all going to be different, but we're all the same at the end of the day. It's all red blood underneath. So let's go represent our country like it means something to us.
Yeah, that's so good, man. I love that imagery that you put about like the dogs, right? Like we're different and we're just trying to like do this same thing together. That's so good, man. So we are rounding near the end, man. This time flew by super fast, but I appreciate you for hopping on. Is there anything you want to say as we close out to the listeners just about the culture of a champion, or just anything else that you didn't get a chance to talk about?
Yeah, I think culture of a champion is an interesting one because it's not just yourself. I think you have to be able to rely on others, and not just people associated with your team or your sport, but the people outside of it. Your spouse, your kids, your friends that have nothing to do with the sport or with athletics, period, or your line of business. I think the mindset of a champion is relying on others to reach your goal, but doing so relentlessly. And going into training sessions, you can ask some of the guys now. We'd go into training sessions and I'd say, all right, it's a contact session. I'm not getting tackled today. It's raining, the ground's wet, I don't want to get wet.
Yeah.
So, sorry, tough luck.
Right.
And you have to go into those environments where, yes, it's a team environment or a group environment, but I'm here to get what I need to get. And I don't care about the rest of you guys. Once I get what I get, for the betterment of the team, I'm going to be selfish because this is where I excel and I want you to excel at it as well. So I'm going to make it difficult. So relying on that side of things, it's this endless pursuit of the sun, right? You're always trying to get to something bigger and better than you. It was said to me when I was first selected for my first sevens tournament, USA sevens tournament, was the honor lies not in the selection, but in the fulfillment of your responsibilities. Hey, being selected's cool, and getting a jersey is awesome, but I got 50 of them.
Right.
And some people only have one, and some people don't have any. So, it's not about, what you do to get picked. It's about what you do to keep getting picked. It's about what you do as a business owner to have people keep coming back to your store to buy more products. How do we do that? And, if we can't rely on each other, if you can't rely on, something bigger than you, believing in something, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but Matthew 17:20 is, if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move this mountain from here to there.
Right. Yep.
And hey, if I believe in myself just a little bit, I'm going to get there, because I know that little bit that I believe is going to be a lot more than someone else, because a lot of people outside don't believe in you. So once you get that little bit of trust from someone else, take it and run.
Yeah.
Because that's what we need to do to be successful is believe and let people believe in you, and harbor that and harvest it and grow it together to move things forward.
Man, that's so good. And you threw a Bible verse in there, bro. Come on now. Man, that's so great. I love that. It's just the fulfillment, right? It's like actually showing up. That's integrity, right? That's integrity. Like if you're going to say you're going to do something, especially at the professional level, like you better do it. Like you better show up, right? Man, I love that. Well, I appreciate your time coming out on here. I mean, just the wisdom that you dropped about the culture of champion is awesome. So I appreciate you for coming on today, Danny.
Yeah, no, of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Bullish Drive Podcast. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you are an athlete or musician who want to take their game to the next level, reach out to us at www.bullishdrive.com. Love to hear your story and see how we can partner to help you take your game up a notch. Always remember, it starts with you and your destiny is waiting. We'll see you next week. Peace.